On today's episode, we're testing the terrible Soviet car your grandpa waited a decade for. In the USSR, he and many others joined a waiting list and prayed. 10 years later, his Moskvitch 412 finally arrived. And what he discovered was absolutely horrifying. We're talking catastrophically, spectacularly, uniquely terrible. What did he find out after waiting all those years? The answer will shock you. This is Four Wheels and Fuel, September 1979, Part 1. September 1979 began with mankind reaching further into the cosmos. Pioneer 11 became the first spacecraft to visit Saturn, passing within 21,000 kilometers of the ringed planet. Down on Earth, British Leyland announced that NG production would end next autumn, closing the legendary Abingdon plant forever. Meanwhile, Aston Villa striker Andy Gray became Britain's most expensive footballer at just under £1.5 million. And on the 7th, ESPN launched on cable television in America, forever changing how we watch sport. It was a month of endings, beginnings, and one spectacularly awful Russian saloon that represented both simultaneously.
Дороги, дороги. Дни и ночи провели испытатели за рулем. Мы не уверены, что покупателю придется участвовать в рискованных гонках, преодолевать зыбучие пески или совершать путешествия к снежным вершинам. Но в этих трудных испытаниях были строго выверены все возможности и достоинства автомобиля. Автоэкспорт предлагает вам современную малолитражную машину «Москвич 412». «Москвич 412» гарантирует вам и вашей семье верную дружбу, экономичность и, если хотите, романтику. «Москвич 412».
Behold, the Moskvitch 412, the automotive equivalent of food poisoning. Built in Moscow by a factory with a name longer than its list of satisfied customers, Автомобильный завод имени Leninskого Komsomola, or Automobile Factory in honor of the Leninist Communist Youth Union. Nothing screams, "Please buy our car," quite like naming your factory after ideological brainwashing. The 412 slivered into Britain in 1969 with a proposition so suspicious it should have come with a police escort. £717 for a family saloon. That's £67 cheaper than a Mini 1000. Let me repeat that. You could buy a proper four-door family car for less than Austin's shopping trolley with delusions of grandeur. It was the automotive equivalent of finding a Rolex advertised for the price of a Happy Meal. your first thought should have been, what's catastrophically wrong with it? And the answer, as we'll discover, was everything. But first, a bit of history. And oh, it gets worse. The Moskvitch wasn't entirely new to Britain. Its predecessor, the 408, had been infecting British roads since 1964, powered by an engine based on the 1938 Opel Kadett. Yes, 1938. The Russians had simply wheeled the entire Rüsselsheim factory back to Moscow after the war, like it was a shopping trolley full of stolen tooling. Which, let's be honest, it was. The 412 was supposed to be the sophisticated upgrade. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The 412's party trick was its engine, a 1.5-litre overhead cam unit that looked suspiciously like BMW's motor from the 1500. Identical slanted mounting, identical valve arrangement, identical overhead cam setup. The Russians insisted it was completely original, designed by one Igor Okuniev, and any similarities were purely coincidental. Yes, and the Kremlin accidentally looks like a palace too. The mental gymnastics required to believe Soviet engineers independently invented something identical to a BMW motor would win Olympic gold. Now, credit where credit's due. The engine was actually clever. Aluminium block, aluminium head, aluminium inlet manifold. Steel cylinder liners you could replace individually instead of scrapping the entire engine. Useful in a country where replacement parts arrived slightly less frequently than Halley's Comet. It produced 75 horsepower, though export figures claimed 70, and if you'd been drinking, maybe 80. Enough to propel the thing to 90 miles per hour flat out, and sprint from 0 to 60 in somewhere between 16 and 18 seconds, depending on whether you'd remembered to remove the handbrake and which octane fuel you'd managed to find that week. Either way, it was adequate, almost respectable. The only genuinely competent part of the entire car. Which makes everything else even more tragic. Because here's where the Moskvitch 412 transforms from questionable purchase into mobile suicide pact. The suspension, and I'm not making this up, consisted of leaf springs. Leaf springs, the same technology medieval peasants used to cushion carts hauling turnips. Citroën had given us hydro-pneumatic wizardry. Mercedes offered independent coil springs. The Moskvitch countered with metal strips held together by communist optimism and a prayer to Lenin's corpse. The result? Handling so catastrophically awful that Motor Magazine, normally diplomatic, said it was rather clumsy with vague steering and poorly damped suspension, which causes it to lurch and roll excessively if you corner quickly. Translation: drive it like you're transporting plutonium on ice, or prepare to become intimate with roadside vegetation. The steering offered the same feedback as stirring cold porridge through a blanket. Heavy understeering meant pointing the car vaguely towards corners and hoping the Politburo's 5-year plan included you arriving intact. But wait, it gets spectacularly worse. The gearbox was a wheezing 4-speed inherited from the ancient 407 model, designed for an engine producing substantially less power. Pairing it with the 412's motor was mechanical child abuse, like forcing your grandmother into a bare-knuckle boxing match with a bear. It failed constantly, prematurely, catastrophically. Soviet five-year plans apparently left no room for developing a gearbox that doesn't grenade itself. They moved it from the steering column to the floor in 1969, a small mercy, but it was still fundamentally rubbish, just rubbish in a more convenient location. And the brakes? Early models had drums all round. Yes, drums. Though export versions from 1970 got front discs, after someone presumably realized that stopping is quite important. The dual circuit system was genuinely advanced for Soviet engineering, which tells you everything about Soviet engineering. But here's the problem. Even with disc brakes, you still had the vague steering and those medieval leaf springs. It was like bolting racing slicks to a garden shed and expecting Monaco lap records. Now, about the body. Oh dear God, the body. In December 1969, the 412 received a redesigned shell with rectangular headlights and horizontal rear lights. It looked modern, almost Hanson if you squinted through vodka goggles. The problem was what happened approximately 5 minutes after you drove it. Rust. Catastrophic, structural, civilization-ending rust. Moskvitches rusted faster than Soviet economic forecasts, consuming sills, floors, and door bottoms with enthusiasm normally reserved for chemical weapons. Owners reported cars disintegrating within months, body panels flaking off like diseased skin, structural members surrendering with less resistance than France in 1940. You could watch the car dissolve before you'd finished the hire purchase agreement. But surely, you're thinking, it must have had some good qualities. Well, sort of. The 412 won races, lots of them actually. In 1973, Satra Motors entered it in the Group 1 Production Saloon Car Championship and won all 33 Class D races. Every single one. Before you applaud Soviet engineering prowess, here's the catch. The classes were based on the car's price, not engine capacity. Driver Tony Lanfranchi spotted a loophole. You could drive a T-34 tank through, buy the cheapest car with the biggest engine, then laugh maniacally as you destroy minis and imps that cost the same but packed half the power. It wasn't brilliance, it was bureaucratic exploitation. Very Russian when you think about it. The 412 also proved surprisingly tough in rallying. All 4 entries finished the 1968 London-Sydney Marathon. 3 of 5 completed the brutal 1970 London-Mexico Rally, with the highest placing 12th. Spa 24 Hours 1971, 5th and 6th in class. Creditable results proving that beneath the shoddy construction and Stone Age suspension lurked something almost durable. Almost. And then came 1973, the year everything spectacularly imploded. The Consumer Association, bless them, acquired a Moskvitch 412 and subjected it to the sort of forensic examination normally reserved for war crimes. Their verdict, delivered with British understatement, was devastating. Dangerously unsafe. Not just bad, not merely awful. Dangerously unsafe. The combination of garbage braking, non-existent steering feedback, and suspension designed by people who'd never seen a corner made accidents inevitable. But here's the truly horrifying part. Even if you drove it carefully, even if you managed to avoid crashing through your own incompetence, the car was still trying to kill you. The aluminium handbrake was positioned with surgical precision to obliterate your kneecaps in any collision. The dashboard featured sharp metal edges, seemingly designed by a sadist with a degree in biomechanical trauma. In even minor accidents, the interior transformed into a medieval torture chamber. Soft padding, injury prevention. Soviet engineers had apparently never heard of such bourgeois Western concepts. The BBC broadcast the Consumer Association report nationwide. Sales collapsed like the Aral Sea. From 3,462 cars in 1973 to a pathetic 344 in 1975. Satra Motors, sensing which way the Iron Curtain was blowing, abandoned Moskvitch faster than rats fleeing a sinking ship and started distributing ladders instead, which says everything about how spectacularly awful the 412 was, given that ladders were hardly paragons of automotive excellence themselves. And here's the final insult. Brand new Moskvitch 412s couldn't pass MOT tests. Not used ones, not abused ones. Brand new ones, fresh from the factory, were legally unroadworthy. Think about that. The car failed British safety standards the moment it rolled off the assembly line. It was born illegal, conceived in mechanical sin, delivered in bureaucratic failure, destined for the scrapyard from day one. By 1975, Moskvitch imports to Britain ceased. The 412 limped on until 1976 at the Moscow plant, hastily rebranded as the 2140 in a desperate attempt to escape its toxic reputation. It didn't work. The Lada had won. The Moskvitch was finished, dead, buried, forgotten by everyone except masochists and automotive historians documenting humanity's worst decisions. So what was the Moskvitch 412 really? It was Soviet ambition in metal form. Genuinely clever engineering utterly destroyed by chronic incompetence, ideological blindness, and a gearbox that belonged in a museum of industrial failures. That aluminium engine was brilliant. The rally toughness was real. The safety certification in multiple countries showed someone, somewhere, actually tried. But none of it mattered. For £717, you got a family saloon faster than it deserved to be, more dangerous than should have been legal, that would rust into oblivion before you'd made the final payment. And there you have it, the Moskvitch 412. A car so spectacularly, comprehensively, catastrophically awful that it couldn't pass an MOT test when brand new. Think about that for a moment. Soviet engineers managed to create something that failed British safety standards straight from the factory. Not through age, not through neglect, but through sheer incompetence baked into every rivet and weld. It promised BMW performance at mini money. It delivered leaf spring suspension from the Middle Ages, a gearbox that self-destructed on principle, rust that could dissolve battleships, and an interior designed to maximize injuries in crashes. The Consumer Association called it dangerously unsafe. Motor Magazine said it lurched like a drunken elephant. Owners watched it disintegrate before they'd finished paying for it. And somehow, it won 33 races in a single season by exploiting price classification loopholes. Very Soviet. For £717, British buyers got a family saloon that was faster than it deserved, more dangerous than should have been legal, and would rust into nothingness before the hire purchase ended. The Moskvitch 412 wasn't just bad, it was an achievement in badness. A masterclass in how to take genuinely clever engineering and destroy it through chronic incompetence, ideological blindness, and a complete disregard for basic safety. Next time, we'll look at something that might actually work. Possibly. Maybe. Though, knowing our luck, probably not. Until then, drive safely, and if anyone offers you a 45-year-old Russian saloon for cheap, run. Just run. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the series and help us keep bringing you these stories from automotive history, you can buy us a coffee. The link is in the description. This is 4 Wheels and Fuel. See you next time.